But that kind of does lead into our next topic, which is topic number 7. It seems like players in the NBA are now making the NBA All-Star Game a priority. Some guys are missing games, the week before or the first game before the last game before the All-Star break. They're taking off, and then they're going to the All-Star Game. So is this, first of all, something that you think's going on, Brandon? And if so, what do you think about this?
Sadly, I think it is going on. I think fans should be complaining about this, especially for your franchise and for your team. Because, like you said, taking games off just so you can go and play in an all-star game, especially during a year of COVID, to me just makes no sense. I mean, we talked about earlier on this show that we didn't agree with the NBA pushing the all-star game forward with the three-point and the dunk contest all compressed. Anyway, it just doesn't seem right with this global pandemic going on currently. And even with the vaccines coming down the line, I think they should just still wait. You could have a great all-star game next year, probably a game that's a lot more close to normal, but you don't want to wait at this point. And it's all about money, and we know we've said that before. Like I said, this is something that the fans should be complaining about because you're not getting the value of the player's contract with him sitting on the bench. And these games do matter when we're talking about playoff seeding and stuff, where the all-star game is meaningless. For them, they get paid bonus contracts, especially if they win the game. They get paid bonus money, and making the all-star game is, usually built into their contract where they're getting a bonus just for making the game. So it's one of those things where I do think the players are prioritizing it because of the money. They're getting paid a lot more money just for making the game. They'll get paid money for winning. They'll get paid money for the dunk contest if they win. They'll get paid money for the three-point contest if they win. There's sponsors that are up for grabs, Gatorade, plenty of sponsors that are going to be all over, especially the three-point and the dunk contest, and the skills challenge if they have that. So it's just one of those things where, I do think they are prioritizing it, and probably in the wrong year, in the wrong setting. I would like to see these guys, playing your games out. If you need rest and you're hurt, then that's a totally different thing. Then you probably shouldn't be playing in the All-Star game. You probably shouldn't be in the three-point contest. You probably shouldn't be in the dunk contest, because we need you to rest and get better, because we have a second half of the season where we're going to try to make a playoff push here. So, obviously these are pro athletes and they do have a lot of say in this. So, this is one thing where I do think that, they need to show a little bit better judgment, I guess should say, when it comes to playing in this game. If you're 100% healthy and you're playing all these games leading up to it, then, I've got nothing to say. Go ahead and play it. But if you're asking for a day off in one of these franchise games before the All-Star game, just so you can rest to go play there, I disagree with that.
Yeah, and it's surprising that, like LeBron's sitting out tonight, and then he's going to go play in the All-Star game when he didn't really want to. So one of the things I'm wondering is, is the commissioner or somebody from the league or the owner saying to these guys, we really need you to play in the All-Star game. We need to have an All-Star game because of the revenue we've lost, over the last year or so. So I'm wondering if that's going on, and nobody really knows the full details of it. But just as a Celtics fan, and not just that, a lot of the players, along with the media members and folks that were down in the bubble last summer and into the early fall, were saying, it was tough, and they didn't want to complain about it because there's other people going through a pandemic, all the social justice issues that were going on. The guys didn't want to complain, but when you kind of took it to the side and they were able to talk to some of the media members that they felt comfortable with, they said, it was really hard not to see family, to be isolated. They didn't go out to restaurants and stuff. I mean, they had a couple in the bubble, but after a while, going to the same place all the time it drives you bonkers. We all know what that's like during the pandemic, So I think that part was hard. So that wore them down a lot. Then the season started in December, when they thought it was going to start in January. From what I understand, I think in early November or mid-November, all the players thought that the season was going to start, sometime in January. And then a couple of weeks later, they were like, no, we're going to start in December, and that's 3 weeks away. So I think, these players, need rest. Last night watching Jason Tatum, it looks like he's just tired. He just looks exhausted. He's coming off COVID of a few weeks ago, and I'm sure that's had a gave him an issue with breathing and stamina and running up and down the floor. I totally understand that. Then you shouldn't be going to the All-Star game, or you shouldn't be playing in the All-Star game. You shouldn't be in the three-point contest. Number one, it's just a bad look. I mean, if you guys are going to talk about being exhausted, both mentally and physically, which we all can totally understand, that's totally understandable. This season is condensed. It's 72 games in a much shorter calendar, season. So I totally understand if these guys are physically and mentally exhausted. But then why are you going to the All-Star game? So it's kind of like a question that I still haven't seen answered by anybody. Tatum's now going to be a starter in the All-Star game. He's excited to play with Bradley Beal, who he, kind of grew. Beal was kind of like a big brother to him and stuff. I totally get that. But it just doesn't look right to me. It doesn't sit right with me that these guys are playing in the All-Star game. So I'm wondering if, the commissioner got involved and owners got involved and said, we need to make money off of this, so we need you guys to play.
Yeah, two things quickly. If Jason Tatum wants to play with Bradley Beal, go tell Danny Ainge to trade for him. Because I know Bradley Beal wants off the Wizards anyway. He can say all of that he doesn't, but we know that he does. And then secondly, if the players want to complain about the bubble, which I still think that's funny, and I get it, I totally get it, but I would love to spend a couple months at a 5-star resort at Disney World, like having beautiful food just brought to my door and stuff like that. So I think they need to can it on the complaining about that at this point, especially when other people are suffering during this global pandemic.